No.
When do you want to start?
Let's start.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah.
We got 26 minutes.
Wassalatu wassalamu. Wait, he's next?
26 minutes.
Why are you 40?
We started late.
He got you on 40 minutes, man. I'm going to be late.
You have to speed up 2 times speed.
You do on YouTube, can't do it in real life. Not anymore. When I was younger, I could flow. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So today we're talking about magic, sorcery, witches and jinn. Beginning of the lecture we'll do magic and sorcery, then we'll go to jinn, then witches, and then Q&A inshallah. Because magic connects the other topics together. So background, I'm currently a PhD student in social justice in Islam and traditional Islamic training, also chaplaincy training, alhamdulillah. And last semester, I took a class on witches and magic. So I studied from, I learned, how to say this in a way that doesn't sound like kufr. I interviewed a witch, a sorceress. We had some of them come to class and they would talk about their experiences with magic and so forth. And then afterwards, I did research on the traditional Islamic lens of witchcraft and sorcery and so forth. I don't do ruqya. Those who are curious, I don't do any of this. I believe it's a real thing. I just don't do it. I have just book knowledge of these things, right? Okay, so now first question: magic or sorcery? Is magic haram? Is there any kind of good magic? Or is it, or called white magic, which sounds kind of racist, but we don't use the term witchcraft in Islam. That's kind of how the Christians would talk about it. We don't want to imitate them and how they had done things with the witch hunts and so forth. Now, the vast majority of magic is haram. It's forbidden, right? The only type that I think you can argue from an Islamic lens is medicinal magic. What does that mean? That means like if you go to the mountain and there's this person there and they call themselves a witch. So I'm a witch. So what does that mean? So you have a breathing problem. There's an herb, you put it on your chest and it'll help you breathe better. But they'll say this is magic and they'll call themselves a witch. Nothing haram has happened. If they say a spirit is healing you, then it becomes haram. Is that clear? Okay. That's the only kind of magic that's really like, you could make an argument Islamically that there's like some room for that. Alright. Some scholars have said you can use magic to combat magic. But it's a very like weird opinion, a very slippery slope. We don't really want to use magic to fight magic. We use Quran and so forth, other things. There were two angels who came, Harut and Marut, and this is in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second surah, 102nd ayah, that they came as a fitna, as a test for people. They knew how to do magic. So some scholars say that they taught other angels how to do magic. And then, so they taught the jinn taught human beings. So, Allahu Alam, but they knew it. So some scholars say that that's where magic came from, Harut and Marut, and they warned people, if you do this magic, you'll disbelieve. People still did it, and they took the magic and they went from there. They're from Iraq, ancient Babylon, which is now Iraq, before Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay. Why do people perform magic? What do you think? Why would someone do magic?
Power?
Power? Okay. Power for the person who's doing it, right? Okay, what else? You know the reason? Jealousy. Hasad, right? Envy, jealousy. One of the main reasons people do magic is because of jealousy. The other one is because of power. Power, fame, so forth, right? Now, they want to break up the marriage. They want to hurt someone. take their business away. Then they do hasad, right? Now, Professor had told me that there's magic that's kind of like fairy tales, like controlling planets, like you move Mars into Venus, and it's like fairy tale magic, right? But what is very real is love spells. You cast a love spell, or necromancy, raising dead spirits. Okay. Now, love spells. How are they done? It can vary. There's books on magic. What are spells like? Spells are like cookbooks. They say, you want love? So, anybody cook in here? Any cooks in here? You cook, what do you cook, brother?
Pasta.
How do you make pasta?
Water, pasta, sauce.
And then do what?
And I serve it on the plate.
You just put water, pasta sauce together, or you do anything else?
I add some green to it, cheese sometimes.
Cheese, does he have to cook anything, or you just put it together in the bowl?
Cook the pasta.
You cook it in water, right? So that's what magic spells are like. Magic spells are like cookbooks, right? But they're like evil cookbooks, you know? So it's like you have a love potion, and then they require certain ingredients, and you do this, and then you have a love potion, right? The problem is it's evil. It's like a bad thing. Professor even mentioned the guest kind of witch who came over in class. She was saying that the vast majority of magic is from dark sources. Now, Islamically, we understand that means like shaitan or right devil and whatever, but they don't talk like that. So they say dark sources, right? And it's very violent. Why is it violent? Because the person receiving the magic does not have consent for the magic, right? You're putting the evilness on them. They're not saying, give me the evil, you know? It's on them and they suffer with it, right? So the other one was necromancy, raising dead spirits. Now, how do we explain raising dead spirits in Islam? Because when somebody dies, where does their soul go? The barzakh, right? It's like another realm, you know, kind of waits for Yom Qiyamah. So then what's coming up, right? If the witches are saying this is very real, that this does happen, so what is coming up, right? And so we can explain that in that it is a jinn. A jinn would take the form of the person who passed away. A jinn would take the voice of the person who passed away. A jinn has all the memories of the person who passed away because they were right there all the time. You know what I'm saying? I just had Papa John's pizza at Fullerton Masjid. You know, they know all the experiences. If you've seen that in movies or people saying, oh, they talked to me and it was them because their voice sounded just like the same, or they knew this memory that only that person could know. It's because the jinn was telling them, right? That story. Okay. So another reason people go into magic is because, or become witches and stuff, which is a new phenomenon, right? They call it Wiccans. 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 The Wicca. So it's the modern day witches, and they even have a holiday. What's the holiday? What's the holiday?
Halloween.
Easy question. Halloween, right? Which is called Samhain. Samhain. Samhain, right? And that is the night from October 31st to November 1st, where our world and the dark world, the portal opens up. Okay? And they celebrate that and welcome that every year, right? That's my argument against Halloween, is that forget about everything else, but if witches are still practicing it now, then we don't practice it as Muslims. If it's a religious holiday for anyone who's not Muslim, we don't celebrate their holidays. As we don't celebrate Christmas, as we don't celebrate, you know, whatever else. It's the same kind of logic, right? Okay. So, there's one scholar, Al-Razi, who says that you can study magic to understand the difference between magic and mu'jiza, like an Islamic miracle. But I think that's just for a certain kind of people. Most people should not be looking into magic in the first place. Okay. So, Ibn Khaldun has this thought on licit magic and illicit magic, right? So, licit magic is like, in the way he talks about it, right? Prophetic magic from God, dreams, the evil eye, because you're not doing anything. Active magic is summoning demons and all kinds of things, right? And also some narrations he says is different. Like, the prophet's doing something is not magic. It comes from Allah, right? So, but it looks like, well, what is happening? Like the story of Moses, when he throws the staff, it becomes a what? Becomes a snake, right? It looks like it's magic, but it's not magic. So even the magicians, in the time of Pharaoh and Moses, They were the top magicians like in the world. They're the best magicians in the world, right? So when they saw what Musa alayhi salam brought, they knew this wasn't magic. And they became Muslim too. Because they're like, whoa. But they know the game. They know how to do this, right? They're the pasta chefs. So they know how to do pasta. This was actually authentic, right? The other story we have is with Sulaiman alayhi salam, right? And we'll get into that inshallah in a moment as well. Okay. Now, where does the magic come from? How do they do magic? Again, just like a detective, there's going to be something tangible. For instance, the pasta example now. So when someone does sihr, they have some kind of a proof of the sihr. The blood, the fingernails, the hair, something is there, and you can find it in the house. Like it should be somewhere. Usually, generally speaking, there is some kind of tangible evidence, and then you find that, and you can destroy it. That's the best way to get rid of sihr, right? Now, how do you know if it's sihr or a mental illness? How do you know that, right? Or some other physical illness, right? So, some scholars say that you have to, once you do all the medical examinations and the doctors can't find anything, then it's a possibility. If there's been no doctor analyzed and just jump to sihr, that's not how you do it. First, do all the medical stuff. You can do Eastern, Western, both, whatever. But you do all the medical stuff, and it's okay. Now, then recite Quran, see the reaction. Adhan, Quran. If they're just kind of chilling, no problem, still drinking water, eating kanafa, okay, then it's probably not sihr, right? If they start like getting agitated, then there could be sihr low on them, right? So you need to have a specialist come in, like a Jinn buster, come in and do analysis, right? Okay. So there could be things, again, it could be medical, could be otherwise, having trouble breathing, pressure on the chest, unexplained pain. You have to go through the process, inshallah. Okay. Now, one thing that I did, I interviewed a sorceress. Okay? That sounds scary. Who's scared already? Anybody scared or no? No one's scared about that? You guys are okay with doing that? Okay. Anyways, I interviewed a sorceress. First meaning which? Interview. Questions. So this person came from a Christian background. Okay? Young person. And in family is very religious, very Christian. When she saw other Christians, she didn't like the way they were practicing. A lot of anger, a lot of problems. So she tried to experiment. Tried Buddhism, tried tarot cards, those cards. Tried the Ouija board. You've seen Ouija boards, all those things. And she finally got into voodoo, which is West African. Okay, this source was black, and so she felt a connection because of that racial and also because of like how where it was located. They also believe they can communicate with people from the past and all kinds of things, right? She learned magic through Facebook groups, all kinds of things, and getting into that. That's why it's good to kind of caution your children against watching these kinds of shows, magic shows, not like a magic like ta-da, like actual magic movies and TV shows, because it may implant an idea that later they get into it and start to practice it later on, right? And again, her family was very, very religious. She kept her she keeps her idea of being a witch to herself, right? Another kind of beliefs she had, so on and so forth. Earth angels, spirit guides, karmic cycles. Your day will keep repeating until you make a positive change, so on and so forth, right? Really big into energy. That was a big thing in her beliefs and gathering energy. And interesting was there was even things that she wouldn't do because in her beliefs they were causing evil things to happen, right? So kind of weird, some of it was like shirkish, like the volcano, the leftover volcano stones were like little gods, and that was kind of weird. But she's like, if there were like trees and the trees look kind of demented, then there's like, we don't go there. It's like a bad place. And I was like, subhanAllah, if witches don't even go there, then why am I going to go there? This is like so already kind of subhanAllah. So anyways, so that was my interview with the sorceress. Okay, so now when you find someone who does ruqya, if they're doing weird stuff, then they're probably not right. Okay, so if what they're doing is like magic, then you know it's a problem. Like bring me a sacrifice kind of goat. If there's numbers and kind of like a little bit of Islam, but like also weird stuff, like Quran, like numbers or squiggly lines. And then there's no hybrid. Muslims don't have hybrid models, right? We just have electric, straight Quran, Hadith. We don't have mixing things, blood and all this. So that's something else. Another thing that this sorceress did was studies astral projection, where the soul comes out of the body and the soul goes places and comes back and so forth, right? Islamically, you don't really have that except for when? When your soul leaves your body? When you sleep, right? It's the minor death in 39th surah and 42nd ayah. It is Allah takes away the souls of people at the hour of their death and takes away the time of sleep, souls of those that have not died. Okay? Now, who believes in magic the most? According to a Pew study, who believes in magic the most? Which country do you think it is?
Transylvania. Transylvania.
Tanzania. It's close. It sounds close. Tanzania. What else?
India.
Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Tunisia is number 2. Then we go into Morocco. So Morocco and Tunisia, and Tanzania are the number ones who believe in magic, right? One time I was talking to his Moroccan brother, and I was like, hey, what do you think about you marrying a Moroccan woman? And he's like, there's a lot of sihr that goes on there. And I was like, okay, understood. Then I asked the woman, I was like, what do you know you marrying a Moroccan woman? She's like, there's a lot of sihr that goes on there. I was like, okay, never mind. So, anyways, so interesting enough, there is hadith, and some scholars they differ on whether it's authentic or not. But Ibn Qudama in his book Al-Mughni talks about this, right? That trimming the fingernails and the hair to bury them, right? Why? So in the class that I studied, they said we learned that witches do use fingernails and hair to do sihr. If they want to get somebody, they do that. Now, how does this all work, right? Okay, talked about the book of magic, right? But when you're working with the jinn, what happens is, if you want some magic to happen, you have to basically worship the jinn, shaitan. Then, so people think that they're working for you, but you're actually like worshiping them, which makes you non-Muslim anymore, right? So you have to do horrible things, like I won't talk about it in the masjid, but it's really, really bad, like anti-Islamic things, very gross things, to get to that level. Then, jinn have mafia. Godfather and little chotus, little small guys underneath, they have that kind of same syndicate operation. Okay, so once one worships the jinn, then the jinn does what you asked him to do. I want you to go and break up that marriage. I want you to go and cause that thing to happen. They'll do that. They get happy because they're getting worshipped. It's like an ego boost for them, right? And we have to understand, historically, ever since human beings and shaitan kind of met, it was animosity, right? Not from the human beings, not from Adam alayhi salam, but shaitan automatically felt his ego and automatically felt kind of anger towards human beings. So it's always going to be that kind of animosity from the beginning to the end. Now, was the Prophet ﷺ himself ever a victim of sorcery? What we call bewitched. Was he ever bewitched? Do you know his story? Right? And he was, right? And so some scholars say that's the tafsir of Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. They came because he was bewitched himself, and then these became as a cure, right? Some people, they'll say, okay, well, we don't believe in magic. Habibi, it's in the Quran. وَمِن شِرْ نَفَاتَعَةِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. The woman who is blowing the knots, right? That is the magic. This is from the Quran, right? So we have to understand this is not some kind of... interesting enough that the accusations towards Islam was that they were doing magic, right? Prophet was doing magic. This is sihr mubin. So this was an attack on Islam. Islam was obviously not magic, but that was an attack as well. And in the bewitching, Labid ibn Aqsa was from the tribe of Yahud, and he was one of the Yahudi tribes, and he was the most biggest sahir that there was, like biggest magician in the area. Okay, so he used a comb and the hair of Prophet ﷺ, and then outer skin of whatever. He did all the cookbook thing, and then he did the magic, right? So Prophet ﷺ also did a dua to cure himself, as quote from Aisha. Okay, so now, which country has the most belief in the jinn? Morocco is number one. Yes, number one in Morocco. Again, Bangladesh number two.
Bangladesh.
Number two, Tunisia number three. So Morocco, Tunisia, they kind of do these, back and forth. All right. When the jinn come, how do we have protection from them? Again, there's like Buddhist jinn, Christian jinn, Jewish jinn, Muslim jinn, and there's like shayateen, being devil worshipper jinns, right? So when we talk about protection from jinn, let me talk about the devil jinn. Okay, so how do you get protection from the jinn? How does that happen? What do we do? Read Quran. Okay, which Quran? Which Quran big book? Which ayah, which surah, which one? Okay, Fatiha, yeah, Ikhlas, right? Falaq, Nas, Ayatul Kursi. So the last three or so, right at the end, right? Ayatul Kursi, which is in the middle of Baqarah. The last two ayat of ayatain of Surah Al-Baqarah as well. Okay, saying A'udhu Billah, saying Bismillah, it creates barriers. Okay, now there's hadith that if you say Bismillah and close a door, the shaitan cannot, get out, get in, get out, right? Can't operate in that, right? And you see a lot of what we're learning today is you see it in the movies and TV shows. Either you saw it when you were younger, or they're coming out now in the theaters now, right? The jinn is telling the little girl, open the door, I can't get out, And we have it in the hadith. It's mind blowing, right? Subhanallah. If you ever see a jinn, this is shayateen jinn, you say Bismillah, Ana Abdullah, Ukhrij Ya Abdullah, right? So in the name of Allah, I'm a servant of Allah, get out on me of Allah, right? Now, if you're a good Muslim, the chances of you being affected by the sihr decreases. It's still possible because why? Prophet ﷺ was affected, so who are we, right? Okay, so right. So now the other, so Bismillah, A'udhu Billah, again, Surah Al-Fatiha, again, also another type of way. Also mentioned in the hadith that there are three types of the jinn. Okay, some of them are like snakes, some of them are fly in the air, and some kind of go away. The ones who go away are the ones that are the problem that we're talking about now. There's also hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad that scholars dispute authenticity, but they mention the term ghul, which is like what? Ghoul. You're like ghouls and ghosts and goblins, right? Interesting how you hear these things passed down, right? Also, the jinn apparently have different ethnicities and tribes. Qawmana, they say. So it seems that there's a different. You have qawmana, you have regular qawm too, right? Our qawm, you have different qawms too, right? They're kind of like have superhero powers. They can travel speed of light, teleport objects. They're kind of bigger, faster than us, but we have one thing over them, and that is our intellect. The aql of the human being is far more than the aql of a jinn, right? So that's kind of where we're ahead of them, if you like. Jinns can take over the body, the possession. They can become the body. They can be in the person. The person can, the person's possessed, but they cannot control their actions. But they know it's happening. Or they don't know what's happening. That can happen too. They're aware that it's inside, right? So, and we have the Prophet ﷺ, one time he was walking at night with a woman, right? And two Muslims, they saw him, right? And they said, kind of whispered, and he saw their whispering, spreading a rumor, unsure what's happening, right? And he said, no, this is my wife. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we would never think of you like that. And he said, the shaitan, the qareem, the little devil, little bad jinn with us, zigzags through the blood, right? So each of us has a qarin, a little like jinn, who's telling us to do bad things, right? And the Sahaba asked Prophet ﷺ, even you Rasulullah? He said, no, mine tells me to do good, right? So we talk about, in Ramadan, we have the hadith that all the shayateen are locked up, right? So, but it's only the ones that are going to cause bad habits. This is according to Ibn Taymiyyah, ones that are causing towards evil. Now, again, we talk about they can take the deceased people forms, right? Someone passes away. Because Prophet mentioned that Shaitan can take the form of people in your dreams, except for who? Except for himself, right? Or the prophet, right? So that means they can take the shape of other people, right? So again, you will see people, person, they're dead. I saw them alive. It's just the jinn who's you're seeing. The jinns live in a simultaneous, parallel universe. Same time, same place, but we just can't see them, but they can see us. And this is in Surah Al-Araf, the 7th Surah, 27th ayah, right? So that's kind of from there. Other thing is possibly, I don't want to get into possibilities, right? When a jinn takes a human form, it gets weaker. Our form is, I think, weaker form. Now, there are these like Thanos, like huge mega jinns who are evil and stronger, but they're very rare. What are they called? Ifrits. They're called Ifrits, right? So they're like the kind of demon or mega jinns, right? That they do things like the transporting the throne, the arsh of the queen of during the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam, Bilqis. Okay, we have Prophet that he tied up the jinn one time, but he couldn't control it because Sulaiman alayhi salam made dua to get him sovereignty over things that no one else would have, so then he couldn't control the jinn. Okay. There's more and more details to get into all that, inshallah. But they have their own animals, they have children, they would get married and stuff like that. Now, what's interesting, what I learned many years ago, which is kind of cool to bring up, is that, the shooting stars? I think a shooting star? So Islamically believed that the jinn they were spy on the angels. And so Allah would send these rockets or meteors to them. So whenever you see that happening, that's Allah sending meteors on the jinn, knocking them out, right? And so they used to be able to do that, but once the Prophet came, then that ended. So in Surah Al-Jinn, you have like, in the beginning of the surah, the jinn are like converts. They're Muslim converts, Muslim jinn converts, right? And they're telling the story of how they became Muslim. Right, they heard about Islam, they did this is amazing. Ajaba, they were like amazed by it, right? And then they tried to convert the other jinn as well. So that could also happen. So different jinn are different religions and all that things. But again, they're made from like an energy or a fire or whatever. We're made from, whatever we're made of. Angels from light and so forth. Okay, now people ask like about aliens, right? Are aliens Islamic? How do we work on that? Ibn Taymiyyah mentions that Allah's creation never stops. For us to think Allah will stop creating is kind of like limiting Allah. That's his opinion. Some scholars say that the jinn could be aliens as well. Allahu A'lam, this is kind of just throwing it in the air. But both sihr and jinn, the words themselves mean hidden, right? Because it is a hidden art, right? Now, as far as residents, the jinn, the filthy jinn live in the filthy places, in the bathroom. So you shouldn't stay in the bathroom too long, right? You do your business, then you get out. You don't kind of stay there and watch TV like too long. You just kind of get out of there and move forward, right? The jinn also inhabits unoccupied spaces, right? When people abandon warehouses and you see a gold car space, them hanging out in there. They don't like to be around too many people. And the jinn will be judged, and they will go to heaven and they will go to hell. Jannah, Jahannam. They will be judged as well, because us and the jinn, Allah didn't create jinn or mankind for any purpose to worship Him. So that means that they do have a choice to worship, and that they will be punished or they will be rewarded based upon their actions. The angels are far more robotic, kind of like AI, right? In that they just kind of listen and they obey and they carry out orders, right? One exception that we have is in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? Where the angels question Allah, you're going to make something that's going to spread bloodshed on the earth, because there was jinn on the earth before, and the angels and jinn had a fight, and the angels eventually won. So when Allah started making human beings, they were like, wait a minute. And then when Adam came and he asked the angels, show me the name of all these animals. They're like, we don't know the names of the animals, you know. And then Adam could name the names, and then the angels knew this was something special and different and so forth. Right? Okay. Now, how do you protect yourself again outside, or cure yourself outside? We mentioned before. Before we mentioned Adhkar, right? We mentioned Quran, right? You can have Quran as an amulet, like a necklace. Only Quran, not some weird stuff. Just Quran. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was reported to have been make them a craft. He's making those amulets himself, right? Citing Quran, you can write Quran on paper, and then put it into water, and then drink the water, right? Or you can recite Quran and blow it in the water and then drink the water, right? So again, as long as it's Quran, there's flexibility. Anything outside of Quran, you're kind of walking a very dangerous pathway. Does that make sense? Are you with that? Okay. And dua is the second thing. Prophet himself cured with dua, giving dua and tahajjud and sujood and so forth, right? Okay, now, which country uses the most amulets?
Morocco.
Not Morocco this time.
Egypt.
Hmm. Close.
Give us a hint.
Bangladesh.
Close.
Pakistan.
Pakistan, number 1. Love amulets. Number 2 is Albania. Number 2. Okay. Now, last section we have is witches. Right. What is a witch? Okay. So what happened is, women have been historically attacked for being witches. Right? Why? Because why? In history, why would a woman get attacked more than a man?
Which is weak.
Right?
She's always being blamed for.
They've been, right?
Always being blamed for.
Being blamed for, right? So, now, what kind of women were attacked? Unmarried. Women of color. So if you were black or brown or whatever and not white, you're more likely to get attacked as being a witch. Poor. Older. Or jealousy or revenge from other women. This is how you would be accused of being a witch. Now, the Catholic Church, or the Catholic system, I guess, had 2 inquisitions, right? One was where? This one you must know. Spain, right? Which was called what before Spain? Andalus, right?
Yeah, Andalus.
Andalus, right? Okay, so it became Spain when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella got married, and they wanted to kick out all the Muslims and all the Jews. Get out of here, all right? And they were Catholic monarchs. Now, at the same time, right, 1497, 1498, there was a second inquisition, and that was towards the witches, from the Catholic Church again. We want to go out witches. So literally, you have priests who would go into the mountains and be like, has there been any witchcraft here? And they would interview the person. If they would double check with the system and say, okay, this is a witch, now kill her, right? Now, one Catholic priest authored Malleus Maleficarum. Now, this was a guide to interrogate women, especially of witchcraft, and then Catholic Church didn't like it, ended up kind of following what it said anyway, kind of weird. All right. So, witches today, it's a business. You can buy spells, you can buy counterspell. It's like Costco. You buy this, oh, you have a problem, okay, here's a problem for your problem, right? And Wiccans, I'm for their religion. In America, we had what kind of witch trials? What were they called? Salem witch trials, right? Right? Salem is where? Tennessee, where is it? Massachusetts, right? Okay, good. This is over geography, right? And so, there it was a Protestant view. Remember? Globally, it was Catholics. Here in America, it was Protestant. Protestant, Puritans. What are Puritans? Christian subtleties. You understand? So they're like, we want to make pure, Puritan, pure religion, pure deen, pure da da da. So if you're a witch, obviously you're out. So they would go and they would have witch trials. Again, if you were poor, unmarried, older, then that would happen. Okay. In an article in the Atlantic, very famous magazine, Atlantic, or publication now, the Saudi Arabia now does witch hunts. It's in the Mutawa, the Islamic police, and then go on the witch hunts. How do they know it's a witch? They look for like little clues. Like what? Okay, if you have this as a lamb, right? And I want to kill this lamb to eat it. What do I say before I kill it? Bismillah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Something that's like Islamic, right? You don't say random stuff. They just no words. Ooh, maybe it's a wish. So they have this set of witch hunts now in Saudi Arabia. So that's the problem. In Niger, Muslims are attacked using witch hunt methodologies. So they say Muslims are these blood-sucking spirits, witches. So they attack Muslims. Yeah, wrap up, Sean. So we'll go from there as well. Okay. Now, children. People ask about children a lot. Prophet ﷺ told us at Maghrib time, don't let your children go out. Because why? The jinns will get them. Okay? We learned in the class that witches go out at night to get children. SubhanAllah. Look at the hikmah of Prophet ﷺ, right? Even some of the love potion spells require children's bones. Allah. So very, very careful with your children. Take stuff very, very seriously, subhanAllah. Right? So we're wrapping up now, so we'll kind of close it up. But lots of Muslims, as far as Quranic verses on the wall, a lot of Muslims do it, right? Only Albania doesn't do too much, or Kosovo, like those, you know. But other than that, everyone else is pretty much doing Quran verses. Evil eye, saying mashallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. These are ways to kind of combat the evil eye or the ayn. And the last thing we'll say is exorcism. And exorcism is very real. Rasul himself did exorcism, meaning take the jinn out of the person, right? So that's kind of also a very important thing. There also there are some movies and documentaries that are built upon, like the exorcism of Emily Rose, is a real person happened. The Conjuring movies also have exorcisms as well in them as well. And so with that, inshallah, we will close. The people that say they have experienced the most exorcisms in the world, number one is Ethiopia. That's number one on the list. And then number two is Mali and so forth. Okay, so with that, inshallah, any questions before we wrap up?
The amulet you said about just having Quran.
Yeah.
Is it a like amulet necklace, wristband, or any type of amulet? Because I've seen people put on their waist.
I mean, I guess you could probably do that as well. I mean, necklace is more common, but I guess you probably do it when you want.
Okay.
But of course, Islam haram the gold too.
Gold?
Yes, for the man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously
Haram.
you have to kind of keep the other things in as well.
But sunnah,
Don't have a silk
haram.
necklace. Don't have a gold necklace if you're a guy, right? So.
Yeah. Plus, they have Quran Muslim. They go in the bathroom haram too. Same way.
Last question, inshallah.
What should you do with Muslims?
Yeah, so you say, Ana Abdullah, so I'm a servant of God. Bismillah, Bismillah first, in the name of Allah. I'm a servant of God. Get out when I'm of Allah. Right? So that's kind of the thing you say. And then it's just like Quran, and then go. Start moving. Yeah. Actually, any other